The African Continental Free Trade Area is expected to increase the share of intra-African trade by up to 50% between 2020 and 2040, remove tariffs on 90% of goods, liberalize services, and tackle other barriers to inter-African trade. The AfCFTA is an African solution for supporting industrial development, creating new business opportunities, generating jobs, and reducing poverty. Since the start of 2019, the ECA has been working with its partners, the African Union Commission, the International Trade Center, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, and a selection of independent trade experts on a project financially supported by the European Union to support AfCFTA implementation across Africa. The project has been represented in over 35 countries, engaging in discussions with thousands of private sector, government, media, civil society, and academic stakeholders, setting up platforms for dialogue on the AfCFTA at the national and regional level to ensure wider stakeholder consultation about the agreement and support for its ratification. The project has also been supporting African Union member states in developing national strategies to ensure countries can implement the AfCFTA in a way that complements the unique characteristics of their own markets. For example, Zambia has drafted its own national implementation strategy and completed a validation workshop with key stakeholders. The fact that Zambia has a game plan for the implementation of the AfCFTA is a huge step forward and is a prime example of how the project equips countries to get closer to ratifying and implementing the agreement. More member states are now taking ownership of implementation of the AfCFTA with the assistance of the ECA and its partners.
It's really important to have all these stakeholders in one place, especially we are moving from the one country focused approach to regional collaborative continental approach. So it's important to bring people from all over the continent, stakeholders, to sit together and have this opportunity to brainstorm and to discuss openly for every challenge they face and how to start to work on it.
We know that we also need reforms, domestic reforms. If I take the AfCFTA to my parliament and then we ratify the AfCFTA, is that enough? And this is a key question. So these are some of the things that we need to make sure that we follow up and ensure that countries are being given the capacity to reform their own domestic systems such that the agreement can be implemented.
The challenge is to make the African Union relevant and to bring it closer to the African people. And that is what makes a forum like this of civil society, the businessmen, the parliamentarians, the non-governmental people, the students, the ladies, the gentlemen, the market women. They are the people that Africa needs to mobilize and reach, and whose support is so critical to the success of any governmental endeavor. So this forum has been, for me, a revelation and a challenge, and it has showed us just what we have been able to do right, and also even more importantly, to show us what we have not been able to do quite so well, and to give us the impetus to focus on them and improve.
So it's by expanding the discussion to bring in civil society that I think we can hope to get the free movement protocol better understood at a very grassroots level, and its linkages with the AfCFTA better understood by the citizenry, without which its implementation, its domestication at national level will continue to be a challenge.
C'est intéressant et important quand nous parlons de la zone de libre-échange économique et que nous parlons en même temps du sport. Quand nous parlons du sport, c'est en Afrique intégrée. Nous connaissons tous le nom de Mo Salah, nous connaissons Sadio Mané, nous connaissons Onana, mais nous ne connaissons pas en tant qu'Africains ce que produisent nos pays. Nous ne connaissons pas en tant qu'Africains quels sont ce que nous pouvons échanger entre nous. Nous ne connaissons pas en tant qu'Africains quelles sont les frontières et comment les traverser, comment aller vers l'un et vers l'autre. Et je pense que c'est vraiment ça que l'AzLECA veut faire.
The women need to strengthen their organizations, which means from the scratch to the apex bodies. Because we have noticed that some countries do not have organizations of women empowerment, women of private sectors. Because like our country, we have a private sector foundation and we have the Tanzania Women Chamber of Commerce. So Chamber of Commerce, we have it already in place for women. But coming to the policy players, whenever they do things which involve private sector, they should engage us. They should engage us from the beginning and consult and get our views so that we are part of the framework so that it can be implemented properly, because we are the players of this at the end of the game.
Everyone appreciates that the environment is being put in place, but the only persons to act in that environment are the private sector and the businesses who are in the manufacturing of goods or the provision of services, because you need both. Goods cannot be produced without services, and for services to be active, they need to find commodities or other services that are required within that environment. So it is very critical that everyone takes their part and plays their role.
This meeting is critically important for me because I'm representing the gender voice in the country. I'm representing women that are doing business. And when we talk about the AfCFTA, this is a critical step in Africa. So our voice in this particular discussion dialogue is important. And so we have been trading, particularly the women in cross-border trade, and they have been having a myriad of challenges to be able to do that trade. So we believe the AfCFTA is the answer. But we also say with those benefits, there are challenges. And this is why we are here.
In the context of the SME, it's very important to understand that the market is also open for the SME in the continent. Sometimes we worry too much because we look internally when there's an opportunity to actually grow and take advantage of the market that exists in the continent. Instead of focusing on what could kill the SME, we need to focus on the opportunity that the AfCFTA is offering.
What you need to understand about the pharmaceutical industry is that it's a high finance intensive industry because of all the specialized sensitive inputs that we have to put into this. As industry, we need to realize the principles that therefore drive the prices down, and that is the high quantities that you need to produce, what we call accessing the economies of scale. And to access economies of scale, we need to look at Africa as a continent.
In addition, the project has supported media workshops, providing support to journalists who are covering Africa's free trade story by providing relevant data around intra-African trade.
I think it is a plus that the UNECA has brought journalists for the workshop, because where we stand right now as a continent, we need to understand, especially as storytellers, how should we tell the story of the continental free trade area.
The ECA continues working on implementation of the AfCFTA with support of its partners and closely with AU member states to deliver the Africa we want. An integrated, industrialized Africa that is creating new business opportunities, generating jobs, and reducing poverty.
What Africa needs the most, especially in getting this thing done, is political will. There is no price attached to political will. It's us deciding that we really want to do this. Our willingness to share the African market, our willingness to share or to pool resources to build capacities that are going to actually create a huge industrial presence in Africa that is African and African owned, and we're not just consumer community for the rest of the world.